Welcome to the Code of Confidence podcast, where we have candid, encouraging, and uncomfortable conversations around confidence. I am your host, Destiny Inspire, the empowerment juggernaut, also known as the confidence queen. And we're here to crack the codes that are keeping us from tapping and stepping into full, complete confidence. And guess what? We're now creating our own. So let's get started. Welcome back, queens, to the Code of Confidence podcast. I'm your girl, Destiny Inspired. This is where we have candid, encouraging, but also uncomfortable conversations around self-confidence. This is the stuff that people don't really talk about, right? When I say creating sacred, safe spaces, this is where we mesh and we kind of really share. I share my own personal experiences. We'll have queens coming on, sharing theirs, and just really being a little more transparent and less, less uppity or less just unclear about what we struggle with when it comes to confidence, not having to look like we have it all together all the time, but just expressing how we feel. Now, listen, on the last episode, we talked about really like those differences between self-confidence and self-esteem, because oftentimes we've been taught that they were just one and the same. Like, I got self-confidence, self-esteem, but they're not. They're completely different things. We gave the definition of confidence and what it meant, and we gave the definition of self-esteem and what it meant. But I want to dig deeper really into the self-esteem side, because although they're not the same, they work together. And sometimes we address the confidence piece, but we don't address the self-esteem piece. And so on the last episode, I wanted you to really sit back and ask yourself, how do you rate yourself? How do you really see yourself and your worth and your value? So let's break down again confidence and self-esteem. So self-confidence, somebody who has confidence, right? They have a strong feeling and belief in what they're capable of, their capabilities, their skills, and their abilities. This even includes your ability to overcome challenges, right? Not just your natural abilities or your skills, that's included, but also when you're able to just overcome anything that may come against you and anything that you're faced with, you have that self-confidence. But here's the thing. It can go left because self-confidence is more so viewed externally, right? External success, external motivators, just external things. Even though with self-confidence, from the outside looking in, it's like what we're accomplishing, what we're capable of doing, even how we show up in the room. Like, it's really more external. Whereas self-esteem, like, it's more internal. It's intrinsically motivated. I can show up as confident as I want to. If y'all know me, I run my fingers through my hair and do my hair flip. I can show up with all the self-confidence in the world. That's what you see. I can believe in my ability to accomplish something, to do something, to speak, to talk, to overcome a challenge. But here's the thing. That is not going to show you how I see myself internally. Right? Because we talked about the whole thing, faking it till you make it. But what happens when you keep faking it and you never make it? That's the problem I have with that phrase. I get the concept of it, and I get you got to do what you got to do sometimes. And there are instances where you show up confident until the confidence kicks in. I get it. But we take that so far and we never address the real issue as to why we're not making it. So we just keep on faking it and feeling like it's okay because we're fooling other people and even trying to fool ourselves. And I've been there. That's why I can say that. So with self-esteem, that deals with your worth. That deals with how you see your worth, how you value yourself, how you even like yourself. Some people don't even like themselves, right? We're confident. We show up confident. We're confident in certain things, but we don't even like ourselves. And you got to ask yourself, do I even like me? So this goes into even before we can get into the self-love piece, right? Self-love is amazing. You need it. But how can I love myself and I don't even like myself? Now, on the contrary, you can love people and not like people. But when it comes to you, me as a woman, do I even like me? Because it's going to be a doggone hard time trying to love me and I don't even like me. So that's why self-esteem is important, because it also drives our decisions. And it drives our choices. Girl, listen, have you ever ever found yourself in a situation, in a relationship, a friendship, a partnership, a business ship, anything that's designed to get you from one place to another, ship, hence moving, and you realize that you settled for that because you thought it's what you were worth. It's thought it's what you deserved. Well, it's money. You settled for a certain amount of money on a job or opportunity because you thought that's all you were worth. If you're an entrepreneur like me and you didn't value your products or your services at what they should have been valued because you didn't see it as being worth that. So we got to really channel ourselves and look into our self-esteem and how do we see ourselves. And so here's the thing. There's 3 layers to self-esteem, right? There's 3 tiers of that. And we talked about how self-confidence and self-esteem can be inversely related. Like you can have high one, but low other, low one, high the other, or you can have a healthy balance of both, which is the ultimate goal, right? We're all trying to get to that level playing field. But here's the thing. There's 3 levels of self-confidence, and I want to talk about these, right? I want to talk about the things that we don't know the nuances of, that we make these blanket statements. You just got to have self-confidence, got to be confident, right? But we're not addressing, okay, I got self-esteem issues that's now affecting my confidence as well, right? That's why you have some people, even in women. Have you ever experienced those moments with women, sometimes even big in the women empowerment space? I believe collectively we're doing better, but have you ever been around women or a woman where it looks like she has it together, baby? She may got the red bottoms, the money, the car, the relationship, the family, the children. From the outside, she looks like she's very self-confident. She got it going on. But when another woman comes around, she may start to feel intimidated. She may start to look down her, look at her differently, or she may just, and sometimes not even in a bad way. Have you ever been in a relationship and you look good, you keep yourself together, you look nice, but then you've been in a relationship with somebody who didn't value you like they should have. And so as a result, maybe they cheated, maybe something happened, maybe there was infidelity, maybe they just didn't talk to you like the queen that you were. In some way, somehow, you began to look at yourself as less than. You began to feel less worthy. So when other women came around, you began to feel intimidated of them. Not because you just envy them or you just hated on them, but somewhere along the line, if we're honest, something happened to us. And when it happened to us, it affected our self-esteem. It affected how we looked at ourselves because we then felt worthless. And we don't blame anyone for anything because we take full accountability for our lives. But the offense may not have been our fault, but the healing is our responsibility. So if there's been a time where you've been in a relationship where you were cheated on or someone treated you poorly and there was another person involved, it may have caused you to look at yourself differently. It may have caused your value to feel like it was depreciated now. Sometimes when we go through things, if we lose things in our lives, we feel like whether you went through a bankruptcy or you lost money or lost opportunity or whatever, and your value feels like it went down. First, I want to pause and encourage you that what you go through, right, and the things in your life that you feel like came to destroy you, I want to encourage you by saying they can develop you. What you thought was going to destroy you can develop you. You just have to change your perspective on it and look at it differently. You can't allow it to attack your self-esteem in such a way that you begin to put yourself on discount. I don't care if it was a rape, an abusive relationship, a molestation, an abandonment, a rejection. I don't care if it was a job, an employer, a teacher. I don't care what it was. That doesn't diminish you. It didn't destroy you. It developed you. Would we have chosen it? No, it's a no for me. We would not have chosen it. But yet and still, you can still use it and God can still get the glory. Because a lot of times it's those very things that we are ashamed of. Those very things that we're ashamed of that God wants to get the glory out of, okay? I had to throw that in there. That's the encouragement of candid, encouraging, and uncomfortable, okay? So listen, I don't know if I went over this, but when we talked about even the root of the words, so esteem, the root of it is Latin, estimare. I'm not Latin, go figure. It may be pronounced differently, but estimare, which is to appraise, value, weigh, rate, whatever, all of those things. And it's an emotional appraisal of our own worth. Have you ever gotten your emotions and you just feel so emotional, like, oh my gosh, I'm worthless, I'm tired of this, like, oh, I'm not good at this, I'm always failing, I always find myself in these situations. That emotional part of you starts to degrade who you are. And this ties into confidence too, because we talk about how to affirm ourselves, but it also ties into self-esteem and how critical we are of how we view ourselves. Can I tell you that it affects the kindness that we have to ourselves? When our esteem is not where it should be, it affects how kind we are to ourselves. And then here's the thing. We teach people how to treat us. We teach people how to view us. So if we view ourselves as less than, this is where the low self-esteem comes in. Remember I told you there's three traits or 3 tiers of esteem. This is low self-esteem. When we treat ourselves and view ourselves as less than, then we're unconsciously giving other people the permission to treat us like that. I'm going to say that again. We are unconsciously giving other people permission to treat us the same way in return. But baby, when I carry myself a certain way, when I look at myself intrinsically, because remember, esteem is an internal job. It's internal success. It's not just on the outward with your capabilities, with confidence. It's internal. But when I know who I am and I'm firm in that and I trust in her and I love her to the point to where I know her value, that's high self-esteem, right? I don't think I'm better than anyone else, but I also don't think I'm worse than anybody else. I don't care what I've been through or what I've experienced. I still know my value. I still know that this situation doesn't diminish me. It doesn't decrease me. I used to speak in schools and I would do a demonstration with money. I would take like a $20 bill, right? And I would ask who wants it. Nice, crisp, fresh. All the kids are like, I want it, Miss Destiny. Girl, give it to me, right? And so I would take that same $20 bill and I would crumble it up, ball it up, get it dirty, throw it on the floor, step on it, smush it, throw it across the room, right? I would do all of these things to this $20 bill. I mean, completely disrespectful. And then I would pick it up and I would say, all right, who wants it now? Can you guess their response? All of them still wanted it. Why? I said, why would you still want this? I've spat on it. I threw it on the ground. I stepped on it. I crumpled it up. I completely abused this $20 bill. Why on earth would you still want it? Why would you want this? And guess what a child's response was? A child, not an adult with all of the cognitive functions that we have and experiences. A child said, because it didn't lose its value. Listen, you gotta make some noise for the kids on that one. If a child understands that money doesn't lose its value regardless of what happens to it, then how much more should we understand that we don't lose value based on what happens to us? And if you know, like I know, the things that I've been through and experienced, whether they were good, bad, or indifferent, they didn't cause me to lose value. They actually increased my value. And I know that may seem unorthodox and crazy, but everything you go through is an experience. And not only do I go through it, but I learn to grow through it. And it's not always the things that have been done to me. Sometimes it's the things that I've done, self-inflicted pains or wounds. But either way, I find a way to learn from it. I reverse engineer the pain and convert it into my power. And I identify that it doesn't change my esteem. It doesn't change my worthiness. A lot of us, we don't feel worthy and we show up like it. Because self-esteem, remember, it influences our decisions and our choices. And because I have low self-esteem and I don't feel worthy, I'm going to act accordingly. And then what else did we learn? When we act accordingly, what are we doing? We're teaching other people how to act towards us and treat us. So imagine if we increased our self-esteem. We increased our worth of how we see ourselves, because that's independent of what anybody else sees. You may not think I'm worth much at all. That relationship may not have thought I was worth much at all, but that didn't change how I saw my worth. Someone else's inability to see your value doesn't rob you of that value. You still have to hold true to who you are. So what do we got? We've got low self-esteem. You think you're less than. You think you're not good enough. You have a negative outlook of yourself. You're very critical of yourself. You have a hard time forgiving yourself, a hard time being kind to yourself. Listen, I took notes. I really wanted to dive into this, right? You lack fulfillment. Now, when you have high self-esteem, you have a sense of fulfillment. No matter what you experience, you're comfortable with where you are. Not complacent, but you're comfortable. Because you know, whatever happens, I can overcome this. Whatever happens, it doesn't change my value or who I am, right? So more characteristics of people with high self-confidence is they can be themselves without fear of others' opinions. When you have high self-confidence, you are okay being yourself. You're okay with being assertive. You're okay with saying no. And I realized, and I didn't know this for so long. That's why these are candid conversations. I didn't know that my ability to people please also rooted back to my self-esteem. Because here's the thing. I thought that if I showed the real me, if people really saw me for what I was and who I was, as far as my struggles, my downfalls, my issues, the things I'm afraid of, the things I'm ashamed of, if they saw the real me, the question was, would they love me the same? Listen, I don't know if it's just me, but that was the question. Would they still love me the same? If I exposed myself for what I really was, if I felt like I was a failure, if I felt like I made bad mistakes, and I did, if I felt like, I had issues and they saw these issues, would they still love me the same? So high self-esteem says, I'm okay with being my complete authentic self without the fear of others' judgment, without the fear of their opinions. And that's hard because as human beings, we desire to love and be loved, and there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes that desire causes us to do things that make us forfeit our discipline, makes us get rid of our disciplines just to go after our desires to be loved and loved. But when you've worked on yourself to the point where you have high self-esteem, baby, you're like, oh, this is who I am. It is what it is. Doesn't mean I'm not a work in progress and I'm not working to grow, but I have fulfillment with my life. I'm okay being who I've been called and created to be. I'm okay with saying no. And I couldn't say no, baby. I was not assertive at all. This bold and running fingers through the hair flip, walking with the catwalk. Like, I was not this girl. Not in real life. Like, I may have showed up with the self-confidence, but the esteem wasn't there. I couldn't say no. I needed to please people. I needed people to like me and to love me. And I'm today years old when I realized that was a self-esteem issue. All right. We got to be honest with where we are. And here's the thing. When you have high self-esteem, though, sometimes it can be taken the wrong way. Sometimes when you have high self-esteem, people can misconstrue that and they call themselves trying to humble you. And it's not that you're not humble. It's just that they haven't tapped into the authenticity of themselves and their self-esteem. So sometimes yours intimidates theirs. So people will try to convince you you're doing too much or you're just too confident in yourself. And it'll cause you to diminish yourself to please someone else. So here's the thing. What do we know now? That esteem can fluctuate because esteem is formed and it evolves from childhood, our adult life experiences. It evolves. So let's say maybe you had a high self-esteem as a child and people said things to you. You're too loud. You're talkative. You're too active. You're hyper. You talk too much. You always got your head in the clouds. They said these things to you and it took a hit to your self-esteem. And so you felt like, okay, for me to win their love over, for me to win over their affection, I have to be less than. I have to tone it down. I have to not be so much or else they won't accept me. They won't love me. But I want to encourage you, baby, get that esteem back up to where it needs to be. You're going to intimidate some people. You're going to make some people uncomfortable, but that's okay. The freedom that you will feel, the fulfillment internally. Because esteem is internal. It's an inside job. You can't fake self-esteem. You can fake confidence. You can fake it till you make it all you want with confidence. You cannot fake self-esteem because guess what? It's going to show up in your decisions and your choices. And it's shown up in mine. I've made poor decisions just from a character point of view. Poor decisions. And I had to say, why would I girl, what's really going on here, right? Is it making sense? Listen, I need to make sure y'all are subscribing, y'all commenting, liking, sharing, because the objective of this is for us to have those sacred, safe spaces where we can be encouraging, where we can be candid, but also get a little uncomfortable. Because if we don't get uncomfortable, we won't evolve and grow. That butterfly, if it's comfortable in that cocoon, it's not going to break out. Why? Why should I? It's cool in here. Listen, feel good. I get my nap in, my rest. But until it gets uncomfortable, it feels those wings growing. It gets too tight. Something's not right. That it breaks from and realizes I'm supposed to be a butterfly. I'm supposed to be flying, not chilling, not just hanging upside down, not just crawling like a caterpillar, but I'm designed to fly. So I want these conversations to challenge us, not you, us. Because when I speak from a place of proximity, not perfection. I've not arrived. I'm not there yet. I don't always make the right choice. I don't always have the best confidence all the time. It's a journey, but we're on it together, right? So there's one more type of self-esteem that I want us to talk about, and that's inflated self-esteem. Now, the inflated self-esteem is usually what people will try to say to us when we have high self-esteem, but it's not the same. Inflated self-esteem is really like that arrogance, right? But you know it because people with inflated self-esteem, they'll do anything to get to the top. They don't build authentic or healthy relationships with people because it's all about what's in it for them. Like they don't care who they have to step on or who they have to leave behind to get to where they're going. And not in the sense to where if you're not in alignment, but in the sense to where they abuse their stay in people's lives. They look at you. Ever seen somebody and they'll talk to a CEO different than what they'll talk to a janitor because they just feel like that person's beneath them? That's inflated self-esteem. That's what we don't want. But I also don't want you to have people mistake your high self-esteem for inflated. People with inflated self-esteem, right? They have this grandiosity about themselves, right? They have this sense of entitlement. They feel entitled to things that they don't deserve or haven't worked for or haven't done anything to contribute to anyone else's life or make anything better. They think that they're capable of things that they're not capable of. I'm not talking about where I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But the people who are, and I'm not a therapist, so I don't go into this detail, but like that can be borderline narcissistic, really, right? Those are known to have traits of, inflated self-esteem. But I want you to work on, if you have low self-esteem, increasing it. And if you have high self-esteem, there's still work to be done with maintaining it. Because again, it evolves. So there are things that come into our life daily that hit us and that can affect our self-esteem. So yes, I want you to have self-confidence because it ties into self-esteem, but I don't want you to be an outward success, but an inward failure, because that was me. I had a platform in a particular organization and I looked the part, but I couldn't say no. I was a people pleaser. I needed to be loved and desired. Like I didn't want to be rejected. I was always stressed out. I knew I was good at what I could do. So I would use my self-confidence to compensate for my self-worth. I would use my skills and abilities, the things that people loved about me, that I was good at, that they would use me for. I would use that to compensate for the self-esteem issues. And I didn't know it. So as long as I was able to perform and be confident in my abilities, then I felt like I was okay because people loved me. People, they wanted me around. I felt needed. I felt valuable. I felt that determined my worth. I used to be married, so being a wife, I thought that determined my worth. Working in certain organizations and being good at it, I felt that determined my worth or my worthiness. It didn't. So this is me sharing it with you because this is the Code of Confidence podcast, sis. What you thought this was? You thought we was going to be sitting here all grandiose and telling you what you need to do? No, I'm sharing with you. Like, this is what this is about. It's about being able to have a level of transparency that we don't see every day. In a world where everything is curated and everything is premeditated with social media, and you got to have the right picture, the right angle, the right caption, the right filter, got to be politically correct. Everything has to be so perfect. It's taken away the authenticity for us to just be not okay, to be imperfect. And so that's what I work to create, that idea to where you can still have it going on and be imperfect at the same time, and that not change your value, your worthiness. Or a lot of times people will look at your weaknesses and be like, oh, well, you're supposed to be this. And if you're a Christian or a believer, you know that feeling. You make a mistake or you do something maybe that's not in alignment or maybe kind of off. It's like, oh, you supposed to be a Christian. I thought you was a. So then it makes us become great pretenders, because now we feel like, because I'm looked at in this light, I'm not allowed to be weak. I'm not allowed to show vulnerability. I'm not allowed to have an off day or make a mistake, because I'm held to such a high standard and such a pedestal, until it doesn't mean I'm not doing it, but it means now I'm going to do it, but I'm going to hide it a lot better so no one else can see it and judge me for it. That's how I lived, because I felt like it was just this expectation that you had to be this and do this, until it caused me to just, I could be a good pretender. Not that I was fake, but I couldn't be authentically myself and show my weakness and vulnerabilities out of fear of the judgment. So we're working on that high self-esteem. So I don't want to pose problems and not help us bring resolves to it, right? Because we are cracking the codes. Coding is how, you communicate with a computer, or it's that programming. We're going to crack the programming that we've had to think that we have to be accepted, that we have to show up a certain way for people to love us, that we have to prove our worth and prove our value. We're cracking that code. So what's that internal programming? What's your coding about that? Do you feel like that? Have you ever felt like that? You feel like you have to work your way up to be good enough? Are you an entrepreneur and you feel like your product or your service or program isn't good enough, that it's not valuable enough? Are you in a relationship and you feel like you got to do certain things or be a certain person for them to love you or for them to be true to you? What is it? Crack your own code. I have mine, but you have to go into your programming and say, what program this? And these are the steps. So some tips to increasing your self-esteem, which is your belief about how you feel about yourself. Remember that estimar, to appraise, value, rate, weigh, estimate, right? So one, we just said it, identify the coding. These are the tips for increasing your self-esteem. One, identify the code, meaning that programming that's communicating to you, right? We code things, and that programming in the computer programming codes how the computer should do, how the computer should operate. What's the coding that's been passed down to you from childhood, from church, from families, whatever, that made you feel a certain way? For me, as a woman, my coding was, yes, we know the Bible says the woman is a weaker vessel, but for my coding as a woman, I felt like because I was a woman, I couldn't do X, Y, Z. Because I was a woman, I shouldn't really speak up and speak out. Because I was a woman, I can't do this and that. I didn't drive on the highway for till I was 20, 5. Because I thought as a woman, I should never drive by myself. I shouldn't drive on a highway. Something simple, but look at how that limited me, because that was my coding, right? So we have to crack our own codes. Identify the coding, which is that program belief, right? And then also find the root of it. Where did this first begin? What's the earliest I can remember feeling like this, thinking like this, or behaving like this? That's step one. Step two, give yourself grace. I'm wearing the shirt, Grace, Grind, and Grit, also available. Look at the link. The link will be in the bio or the description or whatever it's called. I'm new to this podcast, so I don't know the correct terminology, but look for a link. It's in there, right? Grace, Grind, and Grit. The grace. Give yourself grace. Don't be so critical of yourself. Think about how you talk to yourself. Think about how kind you are to yourself when things happen, when you make mistakes, when you identify certain things. So once you identify that coding and that programmed belief, be graceful with yourself. Don't be hard on yourself, right? Give yourself space to work through that and be okay with it. And then third, you now have to make the decision that you're going to be in alignment with who you're supposed to be and not who people want you to be. Make the decision to get into alignment with who you are supposed to be, who God called you to be, who you want to be. I always say becoming the woman of your dreams. When you pictured yourself, how do you see yourself? What does success mean to you? How do you want to feel about yourself? Now, do things that are going to put you in alignment with that version of yourself, not the version that you're trying to be for other people. Because when you do that, guess what you'll also be able to do? Say no. No. You're going to find creative ways to say no. No. Oh, absolutely no. Nah, it's a no for me. Or the new thing, I don't feel like that's in alignment with my journey right now. In other words, no. But you can't do that with low self-esteem. You don't do it with high self-esteem. And again, we're going to deprogram the concept that it's just so bad. Yes, it's not the most positive thing, but don't look at it as something to be ashamed of or something like you don't even want to say it. Because even saying it feels weird and awkward. You got low self-esteem because we've always given it such an evil and negative connotation. Like you don't even want to say it. It's almost like somebody cussed at you or cursed you out if they said that to you. But let's do away with that. Let's just be honest and open and just be okay. Be okay with not being okay. But don't be okay with staying not okay. We want to be okay with not being okay, but don't be okay with staying not okay. We are cracking the codes of confidence. And now it's time to create your own. Destiny Inspire, subscribe. If you enjoyed this episode, holla at your girl. Go to the link. You can go get any type of Destiny Inspire Queen merch from the website. Share this, subscribe. I've got a mentorship coming up and I want you to be a part of it. It's going to be very hands-on mentorship with women who are really serious about taking their life to the next level. And what I mean by that, my coach always says, take out the fluff and flowery words. I'm talking about getting to the root of who you are and being able to execute at a high level in the areas of business and your relationships, in your personal life, just in general. There's going to be a very intimate mentorship. So if you're interested, let me know. Holla at your girl. Also text me. Let me get the number because I don't have my number memorized, but I want you to be able to text me. And I can respond. I can answer your calls. I can answer your text messages. Now, I ain't the best on the phone, but hit me up. So 404-609-1117. 404-609-1117. This episode was sponsored by the mobile app Crowned by Destiny Inspire. Crowned, that's CROWNED, Crowned by Destiny Inspire. It is a free mobile app, the safe space for women globally. And it's on Android and Apple Ministry, right? It is a safe haven. You can go to it for blogs, encouraging videos, Bible app. You can submit prayer requests, chat with other queens, get fitness tips, anything you can think of. Like, it's the ultimate, when I say the ultimate app for women globally, Women Empowerment app, that's it. So Crowned by Destiny Inspire. Download it, share the crown. And if you would even like to donate to it, you can donate in the app as well to help the movement going. And if you would like to be a sponsor, let us know. Again, you can even text sponsor to us at 404-609-1117. Text sponsor to 404-609-1117. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Until next time, listen, hit me up as well and tell me, what do you want to talk about next? What do you want to cover? What codes are we finna crack to our confidence? Destiny Inspire, the empowerment juggernaut, the confidence queen. I am signing out. Bye.